Salute, my Quick Classics friends. Greetings, and thank you for joining me this evening on another episode of Quick Classics. It's been, I guess, a little over a week since we did an episode. But again, if you like the content, please click a like, subscribe, and share. And some of you uh, may know the story, if you know me well enough, how I got interested in the classics. Of course, we're talking about the classics. Of course, what we mean in general is the Greco-Roman classics, and usually that uh, because it's part of the Mediterranean world, that includes Jewish culture as well. Uh, Essentially, the ancient building blocks of the conversancy in Western civilization. Um, and again, um, some of you may know the story how I was introduced to the classics. It actually happened just a few blocks away from where I'm at right now. I'm my hometown of Merkel, Texas. Um, my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, Evelyn Martin, who we all called Mimmy, uh, was a librarian at the time, and she read e- extensively, just all the time. She was just an amazing, um, self-educated individual, um, tremendous autodidact, and she could quote the Bible chapter and verse and read it through every year. But she was also very good with all kinds of. She loved poetry. She was also very good with that, and she could quote lines from all kinds of poetry, including the Homeric literature. And I'll never forget her telling me in her West Texas accent that I needed to read the Iliad and the Odyssey, and it was her copies of Homer's great epics that I first read. And so that was my introduction into um, the world of the classics. And um, what I learned from that experience was not just a deep dive into the Homeric tradition and by proxy the ancient Greek tradition, but what I learned from that is that um, even if you're not classically educated in the, let's say, the trivium system, that's okay. You can go back and read all of this stuff if you want to, because there's so much of it that's available and so much of it that's in translation in terms of Greek and Roman history and literature. Um, that if one is of so a mind, then you could get a kind of a classical education just by um, reading a curriculum, if you will, of these classics. And that's something that I always try and stress to people is that, hey, it's never too late. Um, and it's important to know something about these sources, these traditions, because they inform Western civilization, Western tradition. Um, and that's why I do what I do on Quick Classics here is to give you uh, easily digestible elements of classical culture and classical civilization and mythology and religion and things like that, both in the Greco-Roman side and also the biblical material as well. And so that's why I'm running a special on books right now that'll last through November the 5th, and I've come up with a Quick Classics collection, and it consists of print copies of A Smaller History of Greece, Myths of Greece and Rome, The Religion of Numa, and Taboo Magic and Spirits. And I'm also including an e-copy of my book, Paneas, uh, Religion in the Ancient City of Pan, which is about Caesarea Philippi, Bonias in Israel, and also an e-copy of the Book of Halloween. Now, this runs through November the 5th. It's $55, and I'll put a link in the description. And that's the one thing that I wanted to, not the only thing, but it's the main thing that I wanted to bring to my Quick Classics audience. Um, you may want to, these are really good, easily digestible sources on Greek and Roman religion and history. And you may want to expand your library. You may want to get copies of these for your friends or for you got Christmas is coming up. And I also have two other specials that I'm running. There's the Halloween season one that I usually run. It's Alive for 55, and it has a copy of the edited volume of Frankenstein that I did a few years ago, Sabine Baring-Gould's Book of the Werewolves. Um, you also get a copy of the Book of Halloween, which is a history of that uh, particular holiday. And there are also e-copies of my book, The Paranormal Big Country on This Part of Texas, uh, Lives of the Necromancers, which is kind of a general history of the occult, by no less a person than Mary Shelley's father, William Godwin. So it's chock full of all kinds of interesting folklore and paranormal stuff, and that's $55. Um, and then there's also the Giantology Library that I'm offering, which is also $55, and it includes my books, Interview with a Giant, The Nephilim Dossier, uh, Shepherd Sling, and Paneas, Religion in the Ancient City of Pan. Those are signed, and you get e-copies of things like the Book of Giants and an ethnological digest of the Bible that I put together. That too is $55. Um, so you're getting, $75 worth of material, 20 bucks off, and again, you can use this stuff to add to your library. You can go ahead and start checking things off your Christmas list, for stocking stuffers or whatever, just for people in your circle, your family, your friends. And you get a chance to help out the Institute of Biblical Anthropology and content that I'm producing for all the programs that I have on my channel, including Quick Classics. Um, so, uh, just remember that, even if you didn't go to a prep school or if you didn't go to a classical academy or you weren't um, you weren't educated under the trivium system, um, that's fine. There are plenty of instances of people, autodidacts, who went back and got a classical education by reading the Greek and Roman classics. We typically think of our founding fathers, you know, as being classically educated, people like John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, and they certainly were. But then you have people like George Washington, who, yes, had tutors, but only up to a point, and was never able to round out his education as a younger man. And so he read voraciously as he got older in these translations of Greek and Roman classics. Um, so, people like George Washington are great examples of a sort of retroactive classical education. And as I said, these are the works that come from here are foundational for Western civilization. The people that built this country look to biblical tradition. They look to the philosophical, literary traditions of the Greeks and the Romans for all the basic building blocks of our society. So it's important to know something about that, and we're kind of all thinking about those kinds of things as voting season is upon us. So uh, again, I would just like to thank everybody for tuning in to Quick Classics. There's more content coming your way. I just thought a personal anecdote might be of some inspiration for you, and wanted to make you uh, aware of some of the specials that are going on right now, and I'll put links in the description to all of that material. And again, thanks, guys. I appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next episode.